today, which is the Janan Luwumu Day, celebrated every February 16th. Now, I've just learned that pilgrims actually move in honor of Janan Luwumu and the hero that he was down to Gulu, where they celebrate him and remember his life. Now, it is believed that Janan Luwumu, of course, was killed by Idi Amin, but these are not proven facts, as other sources say it was a car crash that claimed his life. It should be remembered that he served a long time in the government, and the movement supported him as he trained for ordinary ministry in the native Anglican Church, where he was ordained priest of what was then the Upper Nile Diocese in 1956. Now, he served as a parish priest, chaplain in many different schools and parishes throughout this area, and he returned to England to study at the London College of Divinity, which is now the St. John's College in Nottingham, completing his 3-year degree in just 2 years. This is to encourage somebody out there who is also a parish priest or a church diocese priest, that you can also, of course, go into the ranks and become like Janan Luwumu and be celebrated today.
Well, born in 1922, Janan Luwumu died in 1977 under the regime of Idi Amin Dada, and he died with 2 other people. He was the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, and he died at 55 years old. Now, we know that Janan Luwumu was one of those very vocal religious leaders who castigated the Idi Amin regime over the killings that happened. Yes. Now, on that fateful day in 1977, Janan Luwumu wrote a letter to Idi Amin, of course, castigating his rule of power and the way he led this country, something that a lot of our leaders right now are unable to do.
Yes.
Now, when he did that, knowing how dangerous Idi Amin Idi Amin staged a rally in the Kampala city center,
yes,
and then he accused the Archbishop Janan Luwumu of planning to overthrow the government and being under the influence and government of Obote's regime,
yes,
and they were arrested.
Wow.
Now, on that fateful day when they were arrested, Janan Luwumu and the 2 others were taken in a car, and on the way to prison, reports came back on, of course, the only TV we had in Uganda, that was the Uganda TV, UBC Now, and the communication was that Janan Luwumu and the 2 of them died in an accident whereby their car that was taking them to prison on charges of treason collided with another car, and the 3 of them died. However, when Janan Luwumu's body was brought back to his family, he was found with bullet wounds, 1 through his mouth and 3 through his chest. And his other colleagues had bullet wounds on their feet and on their thighs. Now, that is the story of Janan Luwumu. May his soul rest in eternal peace, and we shall live to celebrate him. Of course, his wife died recently in 2019, and we also celebrated her passing, and the military and the government took over her burial. Now, when we see Janan Luwumu and his history, and the fact that, of course, there were allegations that it was a car crash. However, there were also reports that after they saw the gun wounds, they knew that Idi Amin was responsible for his death, and some people say that Idi Amin himself shot him. They were first tortured, and then Idi Amin shot him. So those are the reports of Janan Luwumu. Now, the question that we'll be asking today, I know a lot of people are waiting to hear what the question today would be, and we want to involve you on the topic that we're discussing today. And of course, the question is, do you think that the Interreligious Council has done enough? Has the Interreligious Council performed to the expectations of Ugandans? Now, Carol, Interreligious Council was formed in 2001. By Interreligious Council, of course, we have the Supreme Mufti, that's the Muslim community. Yes. We have the Catholics, the Orthodox, and the Anglicans. But before that, in 1944, we had the Ugandan Joint Catholic Commission, and that's the UGCC, and that was formed in 1944, and it did the work, UGCC, and it did the work that the Interreligious Council is doing right now. Now, the job of these 2 entities is, of course, to, 1, fight domestic violence, and fight any kind of violence therein, and pray and promote peaceful elections in the country and very many other jobs that they're meant to do. Do you think, Karutumwini,
yes,
that they have done enough in living their role, of course, in memory of Janan Luwumu, in playing their part as the Interreligious Council, in being very unbiased and very unpartisan in the political rallies, political situation, and the elections that have been happening in Uganda since they were formed in 2001?
Of course, when you look at their former leader, the late Janan Luwumu, and his contribution to the government, where he was leading a voice in the criticism of Idi Amin in 1977, where he led a protest to the dictator regarding unexplained disappearances and murders. Of course, if we look at, this was a very courageous man who came out and said, no, much as I am a leader this side, I will not fall party to bending law for the state and stuff. I will ask for accountability as a leader in the Leyte clan. Now, if we take a look at today's Interreligious Council, how many people have written to the president asking, maybe if we take a look at the current happenings, asking maybe about the evidence or anything to do with the recent kidnappings that have been happening around Uganda? Has any of these supreme muftis, first of all, these Catholic leaders, these Anglican leaders, Orthodox leaders, have any of them come out to take the example of Janan Luwumu and be in his shoes by asking the state questions that criticize them, yet cause, of course, light to shine on some of these issues? Or have they bent low to the state and been one with them? Now, as we were discussing sometime here on the first show, we were saying that the president is not supposed to be, the religious leaders are not supposed to bend low to the president, but instead advise them and, of course, ask them questions like Janan Luwumu did and be bold about it. Because if we remember Janan Luwumu, he put Idi Amin on pressure, of course, asking him exactly where the murders are coming from and why they cannot stop. So I don't think the Interreligious Council has stepped up a bit to reach Janan Luwumu's level, but I think that they have been very effective in promoting peace and stability around this country.
Well, as we're celebrating the public holidays today in Janan Luwumu's day and celebrating his martyrship in Uganda, we also need to remember Erinaya Wilson and Charles Oboth, the two people who died together with Janan Luwumu in 1977 on that fateful day when they were shot in the car that was transporting them to prison on charges of treason. Now, when we look at the Interreligious Council and, of course, the UJCC, the Uganda Joint Christiano-Catholic Coalition Council, it was formed, like I said, in 1944, and that was the Catholic, Orthodox, and Anglican. Now, when we look at the various elections that happened in Uganda, the Interreligious Council being involved in them, of course, 2006, 2016, and the now elections that we're looking at, we know that they condemned the arrest of Robert Chagulanyi and they condemned the arrest of the then presidential candidate of FDC, Kizza Besigye, and they were against this particular arrest, and they also condemned the killing of 54 people during the riots.
November 18th, yes.
Now, does that make it enough for them to stand as the Interreligious Council? Now, the problem that I believe these two entities are facing is the fact that the Interreligious Council is getting funding from secular organizations. Now, when you get funding from secular organizations such as you said, then you have a problem, because now
anything you said says.
Exactly. You have to conform yourself to not only your beliefs, because remember what you're supposed to do as the Interreligious Council is look at, one, improving people's faith and teaching them peace and calling upon them to be non-violent. That's part of what they're supposed to do. Exactly. Now, if people like you said are sponsoring you and giving you money, then you have a problem. Remember in 2014, 2004 saga, where we had the anti-gay legislation that was being passed.
Yes.
And we know that they were being put at a certain position because USAID was giving them money.
Yes.
The moment they voted for the anti-gay law to be passed, USAID pulled out their funds and left them in a position where they didn't have enough funds to even organize the debates. And we know that they were also unable to organize the debates this time around in these 2021 general elections that just passed. However, they organized the debates that happened.
Yes.
Now, what is critical is that they're supposed to be non-partisan. In organizing the debate, a lot of people thought that, some people thought they were doing it to give a better standing to the sitting president.
Okay.
While the other people thought that, okay, they were just being fair to all parties available, but it's part of their mandate to give a platform to everybody.
Yeah.
However, this time around, in 2021-2020 elections, a lot of people said they did not come out as much as they had hoped. The Interreligious Council would come out to condemn these happenings. They did, but they believed it wasn't enough.
Of course, we should also remember that the pressure was too much at some point, and they came out and said, can these elections, one of them came out and said, can these elections be pushed a little bit to a later stage so that there's peace and stability first in the country. That would be very commendable. But our issue is, how about calling out these wrong issues that are causing our country to be morally not upright. For example, if you look at the USAID, like we've been talking, by the time USAID is funding you, it means, Latifa, for me, if somebody gave me money, I would be like, okay, I'll take the money and say, if you gave me money and then gave me a decision, I would say, okay, I'm going with a decision just because you gave me the money. Is that what's happening to them? Is that what they are seeking for in this? Is the situation that bad for the Interreligious Council members that they have to look at what they are gaining out instead of what exactly should be done, which morals they should follow?
Or is it the fear that government could go against them if they went against the government?
Exactly.
I'm not saying they're not working, they're working, and we've mentioned the various incidents in which they have come up to condemn acts of violence in the subsequent elections that happened in our country. And during the Besigye time, they did the same, and during the Robert Chagulanyi time, they did the same. But the question is it enough? Janan Luwumu went an extra mile. But the other question is, if they went an extra mile, wouldn't it be supporting the opposition over the sitting government? Now, that's where the position is a bit tricky.
Of course.
If they lean too much towards condemning these acts, then they will be looking at supporting the opposition. If they leaned too much...
Heads of laity or heads of these organizations, the religious organizations, are not supposed to take sides with any political parties. Because these are supposed to be the first top leaders to go to, because they represent God to us. So they're supposed to be the first top leaders where we go and say, okay, what do you think? What do you advise the NUP and NRM to do in order to work together and stay in a peaceful country? And so I don't think it's wise for them to keep quiet. If there's an issue that needs to be addressed, just like Janan Luwumu addressed the murders and wrote to the president in a kind way, just asking about accountability of these murders. They had become too much, and instead, of course, he got killed. But if we had such strong, able leaders and strong, bold leaders to come out and call out the things that are affecting Uganda as a country. First of all, the violence, the kidnaps, the murders, as well as the corruption. Have we talked about, have these leaders communicated to the president or to our leaders politically to see whether they give them an ear? What advice does the Interreligious Council give to the political leaders? Because what I know is that they hear from God. Let's say they hear from God or Allah. So they are supposed to communicate God's thoughts to the political leaders that we have today, so that they rectify whatever is in office. But if they keep bending low and keeping quiet about some of these issues and making sure that they do not come out strongly to condemn some of these acts like Janan Luwumu did, then we do have a big problem that is still ongoing until that particular issue is handled.
Our numbers are 0709 990 Sufuri Saba Sufuri Tisa 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 Sufuri Sufuri Tisa Tisa Noti Msambo Noti Mwenda 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 Noti Mwenda Mwenda Mtukubire simu Mutugambe ndooza yamwe ku the topic that we're discussing right now. What is topic in Uganda?
Banadini chichebandi, let me come and say Banadini chichebandi yans chichebayinza ogattako ku byobufuzi by'eggwanga lino Uganda. Tukubire otuwulire ki munange gwe kyolowooza ekiyinza okukolebwa ku byabufuzi bano oba ne ba leaders baffe aba eddiini ki kye bayinza okugamba gavumenti okukyusaamu. Enamba zaffe ziri ku screen essaawa eno wenjogerera. Banadini in you asked me Banadini in English?
No, topic.
Yes. The topic of the day.
In Uganda.
Okay, yes,
No, if you say topic, in the word topic.
The word topic, omulamwa.
Omulamwa gwaffe gwa lwaleero is about, of course, what role you think religious leaders should play in politics and in governance. Call us and give us your thought. Now, as we're waiting, of course, for the calls
Yes.
in 2016 elections,
Yes.
where FDC presidential candidate, that was Kizza Besigye. Then Kizza Besigye was vying against the sitting president, Yoweri Museveni, the incumbent,
yes.
and of course, Samama Mbabazi was there. Now, when we look at that, the report that was written by, of course, we have a call on line.
Hello.
Continue. Hello, a very good morning.
Hello, Museveni Colonel Latifa.
Bulungi
Bulungi so wasiza otya gwe?
Bulungi mwogera ne Fazil wane Nansana.
Yes, Fazil.
Nina bali kuweereza.
Nawe webale kulaba STV.
Kale mukwano. Kati banaddiini
Yeah.
balina role nene nnyo ey'okuzannya mu politics w'eggwanga.
Kituufu nnyo ekyo.
Olw'ensonga abantu abo bw'obalaba be balina okugatta sayidi zonna oba eggwanga lisobola okutambulira ku banaddiini abo olaba naye ekizibu kiri kimu.
Yes, so.
Abantu abo tebali cooperative tebakwatagana bulungi. Bw'olaba amadiini mulimu amadiini agamu ageekweka tegavaayo kubeera open.
Okay.
Beekwekera muli babeera muli munda muli ne beekwekakweka ne bakola ki balinga abantu bano abalya mu lulime ne mu luzife. Kati ekyo kyekisinga n'okuleeta obuzibu oluusi ku sayidi ezimu. N'olaba nga banaddiini bano bali ku sayidi eno n'osanga banaddiini bali ku sayidi eri. Okiraba?
Yes, so.
Kati n'ojja osanga nga mu butuufu mulimu banaddiini abamu abatali cooperative ne bannaabwe tebasalawo bulungi beekwekera muli tebasobola kwogera nsonga ki zibaluma. Kati awo nekisanga nga tebali cooperative bulungi kiba kitegeeza nti balakingamu ekintu kino kye bayita teamwork.
Yes.
Bongere okukolamu teamwork yaabwe ennungi basobole okuweereza obulungi eggwanga lwakuba ssaawa zino era banaddiini bwe balina okutereeza eggwanga. Y'ensonga yange.
Webale nnyo webale ddala Fazil Nansana okutuwa endowooza yo wano ku First Show. Omulamwa akuli nti bannaddiini bakoze kyamaanyi oba bakoze kinene nnyo okumakinga sure nti eggwanga litambulira ddala bulungi. Eyo yebadde endowooza ya Fazil. Of course, we should not forget that in 2016, President Museveni declared February 16th as a public holiday in Archbishop Luwumu's memory. Hello, caller.
Yes, hello?
Yes, thank you for calling the First Show.
Yes, amanya gange nze Bishop Mulamu.
Yes, sir.
Okuva ku All Savior Missions International.
Yes, sir.
Kati ensonga gyemwongerako nnungi nnyo ddala. Naye tulina kye tuyita amaanyi g'essente, amaanyi g'ebyenfuna, nfuniramu wa. Ekyo kyekisinza okutabula abantu mu nsi yonna. Omuntu ne waba nga amanyi ekyokwogera, ekyokukola ku lw'obulungi bwe n'eggwanga akirekera n'atunuuliramu bye waafuniramu. Kati bonna bakeera ku makya ne barayizinga ensonga
ne wabeerawo abajja ne baba influencinga n'obusente ne babinafuya ne babirekawo naye ng'ate bw'oba okikiza mu nkola neya bulijjo omuntu wa Katonda oba bannaddiini balina amaanyi mangi nnyo obulamu bw'abantu basobola okwogera ekintu kyonna ne kitambula ne kigguka gye kirina okulaga naye abyanfuna so ensonga eyo singa etuvaamu ffenna ebintu bijjaterera.
Okay.
Kale Sebo, thank you so much for your line of thought. Now, as we're waiting for more callers, Carol was, of course, telling us in 2016 is when the president started celebrating John and Luwumu Day. And we also, there are other reports on Wikipedia that in 2015 is when it started. Callers on numbers are on screen. Now, as we're still waiting for the callers in 2016, their observer report was the same as Electoral Commission. We'll come to that story after this call. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Naye kati mwebale program.
Kale Sebo,
naye kati nze nkubidde eno Fort Portal.
Fort Portal?
Yes.
Hey, mwebale tulaba Fort Portal.
So what I'm saying, hello?
Yes, tuwendoza Sebo.
Entekereza yange eri abanyaddiini omulimu buyino mukulu muno
Ego.
abwokuba bano bo bali non-partisan. So bali non-partisan at the same time nobonka bayina the right moral authority okuhabura ensiko kwesimire kugenda. Naye this time we are remembering the death of John and Luwumu. But time is coming in future when people will be celebrating of the things that is happening right now.
Yes.
Which personally I don't respect that. So let the religious leaders continue playing the right role of educating, sensitizing, advising the society to live a life of fearing of God.
Okay.
I think, you know.
Well, thank you so much. Repeat that.
Webale muno owe Fort Portal.
Well, thank you so much.
Kutera kasimu hano ha STV Uganda.
Well, if we tell you that we speak all languages on this set, there's no doubt. Carol has brought a bit of... and Toru. Thank you so much, Carol. Very impressive indeed.
Hello.
Now we have the last call online. Hello.
Yes.
A very good morning to you, Sewasuzo.
Good morning. I'm speaking from Mukono.
Yes, please. How are people in Mukono doing?
Okay. I wanted to contribute what is appearing on the TV here.
Yes, please.
Can I go ahead?
Go ahead, please.
This is concerning the religious people. Concerning the religious people, towards the politics of this nation.
Yes, politics and governance.
My contribution is, you see, the religious leaders have, the religious leaders have to be.
Could you reduce the volume of your TV and then you can speak to us better than you're doing right now?
Put in the constitution that they have to be advising the leadership of this nation.
Reduce the volume of your TV so that the echo does not come back.
The leaders
reduce the volume and then go ahead with your submission. Well, unfortunately, that person had their volume of the TV on, so they would talk, listen to themselves, and then talk back. When you're calling us, please ensure that the volume of your TV is turned down. If you need a recap of this program to listen to yourself, of course, it is on STV Uganda Official on Facebook, and we're also STV Uganda on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, as we're concluding, of course, this particular conversation, thank you very much for being part of the conversation. I was saying in 2016, the report of the Interreligious Council was similar or the same to that of Electoral Commission, and a lot of people were asking themselves, what exactly are these people doing? And people doubted in their credibility, and that is where the problem started in 2016, when people said the Interreligious Council is a barking dog, and we know a barking dog seldom bites. However, I'll beg to differ with that, because they have come out vocal with a number of issues, and their role, like a lot of people agreed, as they were calling, of course, is to advise the nation in matters regarding peace and lack of violence in the nation.
All right, my last contribution on this, we have a caller? My last contribution on this would be, hello caller. Hello.
Stephen webale kuweereza.
Kale webale kulaba Stephen Kwan.
Webale kuweereza banyama.
Kale se webale kusiima.
Ono Mutebi Eddie nga ndi wano Kiwenda.
Yes, Mutebi Eddie.
Kakati ku mulamu ogwo ngamba ba religious leaders tebakoze kimala. Kimala naddala mu nsonga za politics owe Uganda kuba n'okusookera ddala tulaba ne ku kkanisa gye baamenya ey'omundeeba baasirika busirisi tewali kye baayogera nga ne ku ssaawa zino tulaba bali mu kuyisa bajeti ya ssente ate bagenda kusasula oyo eyamenya ekkanisa eyo. Religious leaders tebalina kye boogedde, so tebakoze kimala nze bwe ŋŋamba, ate nga balina ku ddoboozi erisobola okwogera ne libaako kye likyusa mu ggwanga. Naye nze nsuubira engeri politics gye yajjamu nnyo ebya ssente, ssente zaatutwala nnyo bwe buzibu bwe tukyalina. Ennyabo ze badde enteesa yange mwe balina okuweereza.
Webale nnyo okulaba STV n'okuba endowooza yo ku bigenda mu maaso. Before he gave his contribution, I was saying that if the fact that President Museveni gave Janan Luwumu a whole public holiday, does it mean that he's encouraging other religious leaders to do exactly what Janan Luwumu did, and there would be no repercussions like Janan Luwumu faced?
Well, martyrs are supposed to be celebrated. They're supposed to be celebrated. And here's the thing. When you become a martyr, when you become someone worth celebrating, then a public holiday is named in your honor. So at the end of the day, it couldn't necessarily mean that he's promoting people to go against him. But at the end of the day, we can't call it going against him.
No,
what we
really
can call him is
critiquing.
keeping him in check.
Exactly.
Critiquing is also a big word. And that's why we said that multi-politics, multi-political dispensation needs to happen in our country, because they need to find a place where the government is kept in check, and that is the real reason of Interreligious Council. We have another caller. Hello.
Kale, webale kulaba
STV. Amina.
Ne constitution yange eri bweki. The religious leaders bali badde baweebwa omukisa era nga bategeerebwa bulungi ne constitution ya Uganda nti omukulembeze bw'aba abuze basobola religious leaders bwe boogera basobola okutegeerebwa. Naye olw'okuba nti nno religious leaders tebali mu constitution baweebwa amaanyi ag'okuwabula gavumenti, nabo oluusi esitubyayo gwa naggamba
kituufu
ate bwe boogera gavumenti nebalaba bubi lwaki boogedde bwe bati era yensonga lwaki Luwumu yafa Luwumu yavaayo n'ayogera ku kutta okwaliwo okuttwa kw'abantu mu biseera bya Idi Amin naye olwo gavumenti yakitwala bubi nnyo era kyebakola mutta busi ekintu ekitali kituufu ati badde batuula ne bamanya nti nebagamba nti Luwumu ono agamba ki kiki kyayogedde kaakati ensonga eyo ereeta obuzibu banaddiini abamu tebavaayo batya okubakolako obuzibu kaakati okulonda n'okulonda kuno kwaliwo banaddiini baali bavuddeyo era naye olw'okuba nti nno batya tebasobola kwogera lwatu naye mbikembadde nsaba banaddiini bateekebwe mu constitution ya Uganda nno bajja kuwaayo okuwabula gavumenti bwe beekoze ensobi sina amaanyi ago gabaweebwa nti banaddiini olukiiko abanaddiini lunaawabulanga gavumenti ng'etandise okukola ebyambyone ekyo kijja kubawa amaanyi kaakati gavumenti bweba evudde ku gamwa banaddiini baddeeyo okubeera okugirungamyanga nolwekyo nze contribution yange
kale sebo tweyanzege
nze dinaayita ow'emukono
He was really impressive in his submission.
That's true.
And he says that the Interreligious Council or religious leaders need to be put as one of the stakeholders in the constitution of Uganda. And will that help though? Hello?
Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hello.
Mwebale kuwuliriza.
Kale sebo
Wewale Flower STV.
Amanya ebidasiba imaamu kwangalira kasanga.
Sulaiman.
Nze nteesa ekirowooza yange bannaddiini abo enne bwe tubateekera ku muntu nga journalist Luwumu ate afuna bukomi kwogera ku byali bigenda mu maaso naye yabisasubira n'obulamu bwe. Ndowooza nti challenge nnene eri bannaddiini bwe tulina olwaleero abasirika because of obumotoka ekibaweebwa because of ebintu ebinafuluma ebibaweebwa ndowooza nti bannaddiini essaawa etuuse bakkirize nti eddoboozi lyabwe kkulu nnyo mu issues ezikwata ku ggwanga lyabwe. Kanani Luwumu yali asobola okukkiriza kuba yali asobola okufuna buli kye yali yeetaaga naye wabula yabireka n'asigala ng'ayogera ekituufu ekyaliwo. Naye tulina obuzibu nti today osobola okulaba ffe Abayisiraamu nti basobola okuwa ekibuli basobola okubakkiriza ne mu baana b'omugaisimu kusinga aweebwa obukuumi diversionary kyokka nga ne Kampala mukadde waliyo mufti naye aweebwa obukuumi era naye abalibwa kugamba ne muba n'ekiteeki ng'ebaawuddemu bwetyo ate ne mukkiriza neebapimira wakati webeetaagira gwe neekuwa emmotoka nono nemuwa emmotoka erabo entalo wakati bannaddiini. Nolwekyo nsaba bannaddiini bamanye nti eno ensi be balina okugiriŋŋamya. Abantu endiga zaabwe nga tubuze be bakama baffe bye twetaaga okutubeereramu kubanga gye tuddukira. Mwebale kuweereza.
And then his regard is about the factions in the Islamic religion. We also know that it also happens in the Christianity religion. And we know that the Chiwuli faction and the major mosque in Kampala, that is the Gaddafi Mosque, have two different factions. And the people who affiliate to these two different factions. And that means these two groups of people have failed to come together and form one union. Now, if we have an interreligious council that feel they're not being represented well enough by one faction and they want the other faction to represent them, then we're going to have a problem.
Of course.
And the other process, of course, is tribalism in religions and partisanism in religions. We know that parties such as UPC and DP were formed on the foundation of religion. And you can now imagine these religions that were formed and engraved in political parties, how are they going to manage in being non-partisan?
Hello, caller.
Well, we lost that call.
All right.